What if I told you that a fifth-round rookie quarterback just broke the NFL's entire business model with a single contract clause that most people completely missed? While everyone was focused on his modest salary, Shedeur Sanders was quietly detonating a financial bomb that's already generated over $14 million in personal profit before playing a single regular season snap. The league executives are panicking, veteran players are demanding answers, and this precedent could completely reshape how athletes get paid forever. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how one contract clause just shifted the power balance between players and the NFL in ways that seemed impossible just months ago. From the outside, it looked like just another routine rookie signing. A charismatic fifth-round quarterback with a famous last name, inking his first NFL contract with a team that wasn't entirely sure where he'd fit into their depth chart. The headlines were predictable, the figures modest by NFL standards. But buried in the fine print, hidden in a clause that most people would skim right past, was a detail that could rewrite the power dynamics between players and the league forever. This isn't just about money, though we're talking about generational wealth being created in ways the NFL never intended. This is about a fundamental shift in who controls an athlete's brand, their image, and their financial destiny. What Shedeur Sanders accomplished with this contract isn't just smart business, it's a blueprint that's already causing chaos in front offices across the league. If you're ready to dive deep into the real story behind the headlines, the backroom negotiations, and the ripple effects that are already reshaping professional sports, make sure you're subscribed because this is exactly the kind of content we break down on this channel. Now, let's get into how a fifth-round pick just outsmarted an entire billion-dollar industry. Here's what everyone missed while they were analyzing Shedeur's throwing mechanics and wondering about his NFL readiness. The contract wasn't just about football. It was about ownership. While other rookies were celebrating their signing bonuses, Shedeur was securing something far more valuable, complete control over his name, image, and likeness, plus a 20% cut of every single dollar generated from his personal brand. Let me break down exactly what this means, because the implications are staggering. Every jersey sold with his name? 20% goes directly to Shedeur, not filtered through the NFL's revenue-sharing model. Every highlight clip the league uses in their official programming that generates ad revenue? That's a check in his mailbox. Special edition merchandise, social media content, sponsorship deals tied to his image, he owns a piece of all of it. This wasn't some legal accident or oversight by the Browns front office. This was intentional, calculated, and years in the making. Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, had spent decades watching athletes become global icons while remaining financially dependent on the leagues that employed them. He saw players generate millions in jersey sales while pocketing nothing beyond their base salaries. He watched rookies become the faces of marketing campaigns without owning a single piece of the media rights to their own likeness. The traditional NFL model is built on control. The league licenses the jerseys, approves the sponsorships, owns the media rights. When a player's highlight goes viral, it's typically the NFL making the money, not the athlete who created that moment. But Shedeur's contract carved out an entirely new lane. He's not just a quarterback on the Browns roster, he's an independent brand operating inside the NFL framework. The numbers from his rookie season alone are mind-blowing. Before taking a single regular season snap, Shedeur generated hundreds of millions in brand-related revenue for the Browns and the broader NFL ecosystem. His jersey became a top seller nationwide, not because he was already a household NFL name, but because the Sanders family had built one of the most loyal, engaged fan bases in all of sports. And here's the kicker, that reported $14 million in direct profit flowing into his accounts represents money that would have traditionally stayed with the league. This isn't just a rookie making good money, this is a fundamental redistribution of revenue that the NFL never saw coming. The ripple effect started immediately. Agents began calling his camp, asking how they could replicate this clause for their own clients. Rookie negotiations for the next draft class are already being influenced by this precedent. Because once players see that they can double or triple their earnings simply by owning their likeness rights, there's no going back to the old model. The NFL's quiet pushback has already begun, with executives worried that if too many players demand equity clauses, the league's centralized control over merchandising could fracture completely. But for Shedeur, this isn't a problem, it's exactly the plan. What makes Shedeur's approach revolutionary isn't just a contract clause, it's how he's leveraging it to build something the NFL has never seen before, a completely independent media and business empire that exists parallel to, not beneath, the league structure. While other rookies are learning playbooks, Shedeur is operating like a CEO who happens to play quarterback on Sundays. His college career at Colorado wasn't just about football statistics, it was a masterclass in modern athlete marketing. He was producing original content, engaging directly with fans, and building a personal brand that transcended his on-field performance. By the time he entered the NFL, he already had a fully formed audience that followed him, not the team he played for. Instead of handing that audience over to the league's marketing machine, he kept complete control. The business model is brilliant in its simplicity. Corporate sponsors aren't going through the Browns or the NFL to reach Shedeur, they're dealing directly with his personal channels. Energy drink deals, apparel lines, content partnerships, when brands sign with Shedeur, they're not just getting an NFL player, they're getting access to the entire Sanders ecosystem. That includes the built-in audience, the Coach Prime Association, and the ability to bypass traditional lead restrictions to deliver marketing that feels authentic rather than corporate scripted. His personal brand channels, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, were already monetized and thriving before he entered the NFL. With the league spotlight, those numbers tripled overnight. And because he owns the rights, every highlight clip that goes viral on his platforms pays him directly. Every behind-the-scenes video, every training session, every piece of content he creates generates revenue that flows straight to him, not through the NFL's revenue-sharing model. The freedom this creates is unprecedented. Shedeur can sign sponsorships without league interference, produce his own media content, and monetize it directly. He's already hinted at YouTube series, documentaries, and digital content that will build a brand designed to outlast his NFL career, just like his father did with endorsements and television. Inside the Browns building, this has created a fascinating dynamic. The team benefits from the extra attention, increased ticket sales, merchandise revenue, and media coverage. But they also know that Shedeur's value doesn't depend on their platform, which is incredibly rare in professional sports. Most rookies need the team's infrastructure to become stars. Shedeur brought his own infrastructure with him. This model represents a fundamental shift in how athletes can approach their careers. Instead of being employees who happen to be famous, players like Shedeur are becoming independent businesses that happen to compete in the NFL. The league becomes just one chapter in their story, not the entire book. And that's exactly what terrifies NFL executives the most, the idea that their carefully controlled system of player development and marketing could become optional for the athletes talented enough to build their own platforms. The NFL's reaction to Shedeur's contract has been a masterclass in corporate damage control, but behind the scenes, there's genuine panic about what this precedent could mean for the league's entire business model. The whispers started almost immediately after the contract details leaked, and they've only gotten louder as the financial implications become clear. In NFL front offices, where rookie signings are usually treated as routine paperwork, there was suddenly a new kind of energy, a mix of disbelief, curiosity, and, in many cases, outright alarm. General managers were texting each other in disbelief. "Did you see this Sanders clause?" Agents were calling the NFLPA to ask if this kind of deal was even legal under the current collective bargaining agreement. Marketing departments were scrambling to figure out if this meant they'd have to share revenue streams they'd always considered untouchable. The NFL's business model is built on the idea that the shield, the league's brand, comes before any individual player. They promote stars, but those stars exist within a structure the league controls completely. Shedeur's deal didn't just crack that structure, it created a fracture that could spread quickly if not contained. At the annual owners' meeting, multiple executives raised concerns about contract anomalies that could disrupt revenue sharing. The conversation was carefully worded. They didn't want to make it sound like they were targeting one player, but everyone in the room knew they were talking about Shedeur Sanders. The NFL thrives on uniformity, and he represents everything but uniform. The league's legal department immediately began working on strategies to prevent this from becoming standard practice. They know that the next draft class is watching closely, and if even a handful of high-profile rookies demand similar clauses, the merchandising model could shift overnight. That would mean less control over branding, fewer exclusive deals the league could negotiate without player approval, and a significant hit to centralized revenue. Some owners have even floated the idea of lobbying to ban such clauses in future contracts, citing competitive balance concerns. But Shedeur's camp isn't worried. They know that once this door is open, it would be nearly impossible for the league to close it without looking blatantly anti-player. The most telling sign of the league's concern came when merchandise reports leaked showing that Shedeur's jersey had outsold multiple Pro Bowl players in just his first month. The data revealed that because of his equity clause, his personal earnings from those sales were higher than his entire rookie salary. In the old model, a rookie quarterback needed years of playing time, endorsements, and playoff appearances to see that kind of personal revenue. Shedeur accomplished it in weeks. Public sentiment has been firmly on his side throughout this process. Fans love the idea of athletes owning their work, and the media has painted him as a trailblazer rather than a troublemaker. This has made it even more difficult for the NFL to push back publicly without appearing to be against player empowerment. The impact of Shedeur's contract is spreading through the NFL like wildfire, and it's creating conversations in locker rooms, agent offices, and front offices that the league never wanted to have. What started as one rookie's unique deal has become a movement that's reshaping how players think about their value and their future. Veterans across the league are having wake-up moments. Players who've sold thousands of jerseys but never seen a dime outside their base salary are suddenly asking their agents pointed questions. Why don't I have an equity clause? Defensive stars with growing social media followings are realizing they could be turning those audiences into direct revenue streams without the league taking its traditional cut. The phrase Sanders-style clause has become common vocabulary in NFL business circles. Agents are studying the language of his deal, preparing to use it as leverage in upcoming negotiations. Some are already telling their college clients, "We're going to push for a Sanders-style clause." That's not just talk. It's becoming a standard part of contract negotiations. At the NFL Combine, the impact was impossible to ignore. In hotel lobbies where executives, scouts, and agents typically discuss arm strength and 40-yard dash times, the conversation kept circling back to business models. A projected top 10 pick was overheard telling his agent, "If they don't give me what Shedeur got, I'll wait." That comment leaked to social media within hours and was trending by the end of the night. The NFLPA has taken notice in a big way. Player representatives who had been pushing for years to give athletes more freedom over their likeness and merchandise revenues suddenly have a proof of concept they can point to. Some union executives are already calling Sanders' deal the most important contract move since the rookie wage scale was introduced. Inside team facilities, the dynamic is shifting. Teammates aren't threatened by Shedeur's business success. They're asking for advice. How do you negotiate for media rights? How do you build a brand that lasts beyond your playing days? Shedeur hasn't hoarded these insights. He's been generous with sharing how his father taught him to think like a CEO while preparing like an athlete. The influence is extending beyond just contract negotiations. Players are starting to view themselves differently, not just as employees who happen to be famous, but as independent businesses that happen to compete in the NFL. This mindset shift represents a fundamental change in the player-league relationship. Even rival leagues are taking notice. The NBA, where players have historically enjoyed more freedom over their personal branding, has started drawing comparisons. The NFL is finally getting its LeBron moment, one basketball analyst tweeted, connecting Sanders' model to how NBA superstars have shaped their own narratives and built business empires. The most significant indicator of lasting change? Multiple agents report that brand ownership has become a standard topic in their initial conversations with college prospects. What was once an afterthought in contract negotiations is now a primary consideration for incoming players. What Shedeur Sanders has accomplished goes far beyond one innovative contract. He's created a blueprint for athlete empowerment that could fundamentally reshape professional sports. The question isn't whether other players will follow his model, it's how quickly the transformation will happen and how far it will go. The immediate future looks like a wave of contract negotiations where brand ownership becomes as important as salary figures. We're already seeing agents prepare Sanders clauses for their clients, and teams are being forced to decide whether they'll adapt to this new reality or risk losing top talent to organizations that will. But the long-term implications are even more revolutionary. Could we see an NFL where players negotiate for partial ownership in team-branded merchandise they help sell? Could future stars skip the traditional marketing apparatus entirely and build direct-to-consumer sports brands? If Shedeur's success continues, the answer is increasingly looking like yes. The model he's created, athlete as independent business operating within a elite framework, has applications far beyond football. Baseball players with massive social media followings, basketball players with global appeal, soccer stars with international fan bases, they're all watching and learning from what Shedeur has accomplished. Corporate America is paying attention too. Shedeur's endorsement deals are crossing into territory the NFL can't touch: luxury brands, streaming platforms, tech startups. They're not signing him because he's a Browns quarterback. They're signing him because he's Shedeur Sanders, a self-contained brand with built-in reach and authentic engagement. The streaming and content creation possibilities are particularly exciting. Shedeur has already hinted at YouTube series, documentaries, and digital content that will build a media empire designed to outlast his playing career. When athletes own their content rights, they can create programming that gives fans unprecedented access while generating revenue that flows directly to them. Perhaps most importantly, this model creates financial security that extends far beyond an athlete's playing career. Traditional NFL careers are short, and many players struggle financially after retirement. But when you own your brand, your name, and your content, you have assets that can generate income for decades. The resistance from league offices is real, but it may be too late to stop this trend. Public sentiment strongly favors athlete empowerment, and the financial results speak for themselves. Shedeur has proven that players can be more valuable when they control their own brands than when they operate within traditional league constraints. The next generation of athletes is watching and learning. High school and college players are already thinking about brand ownership before they even turn professional. They're seeing that the most successful athletes aren't just great at their sport, they're great at business. What Shedeur Sanders has started isn't just a contract innovation, it's a revolution in how athletes think about their careers, their value, and their future. The NFL may still hold the shield, but for the first time in the league's history, individual players are building something powerful enough to stand beside it as equals, not beneath it as employees. So there you have it, the complete story of how Shedeur Sanders didn't just sign a rookie contract, he detonated a blueprint that's reshaping the entire relationship between athletes and professional sports leagues. From that hidden equity clause that's already generated over $14 million in personal profit, to the business empire he's building parallel to his NFL career, to the panic in league offices as they realize their control is slipping away. The ripple effects are already here. Agents are demanding Sanders-style clauses for their clients. Veterans are questioning why they don't own their own brand rights. And the next generation of athletes is learning that they don't have to choose between being great players and being smart business people, they can be both. This isn't just about one player getting paid. This is about a fundamental shift in power that could transform professional sports forever. When athletes own their brands, control their content, and build independent revenue streams. They're no longer just employees who happen to be famous, they're CEOs who happen to compete in leagues. The NFL tried to build a system where the shield came before any individual player. Shedeur Sanders just proved that the most valuable players can build something powerful enough to stand beside that shield as equals. What do you think about this revolution in athlete empowerment? Are you excited to see players take control of their brands, or do you think it could hurt the traditional team sports model? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one and love hearing your perspectives on these game-changing stories. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on how business and sports intersect, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. In the next video, we're diving into how this trend is already spreading to other leagues and which players are most likely to follow Shedeur's blueprint. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, where we continue to break down the stories that are reshaping the world of professional sports.